everybody. So welcome to Painted Farmhouse Workshops How Does This Work video. We get a lot of questions from people asking us about our process and what they expect, and when they want to make a custom sign, they're not sure if they can, do something that looks like a watercolor, or a million different questions. So we're going to try and make a really quick, easy, precise video for you to show you what you're going to get, what's going to happen when you show up, how this whole process works, and a couple little tips and things like that. The instructor will go through everything with you, but this is just if you're one of those people who are visual, need to see it ahead of time, wonder what we do, so be it. A couple of these things and processes that I'm showing right now are going to change throughout the year because we have some different suppliers coming up. But for now, this is our process. So when you show up at your party, you will have filled out our order form. On our order form, there's all of our sizes, our color choices. We have over 30 color combinations and choices with or without a frame, all of our sizes. So this is our new size that's on our order form. So this is our 10 by 24, which has actually been pretty popular this year. I also have our 12 by 16. So this one is our white stain frame. This is our 12 by 12 with a black frame on it with our walnut finish. So just to show you got lots of different sizes, lots of different color combinations to pick from. And then this one that I'm going to work with you today is our walnut on our 10 by 24. So when you come, you're going to have this blue sheet of vinyl. It may be weight in the future, just saying. We have 3 new suppliers that have sent us some things to try. So we're gonna try that out in a video later, so you'll be able to see which one we like and which ends up being our product. But for now, because this is easily and readily available for us, this is what we're using. So this is just a stencil vinyl, and you'll get your board pre-finished. Now, 2 things people always ask: can I paint it when I get there? What do I have to pick? You have to pick for 2 reasons. One, we use stain and we want it to dry. I know there are lots of people who use paint and things like that. Works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for us because we like the wood grain. We like the look of the stain. We also like that when you sand it, it doesn't change the look of it. It actually soaks into the wood. So that's just what we do. That's how it works. So it takes about 24 to 48 hours to dry completely. That's why we need the orders in. And then once we get them, we seal them just with a quick little spray sealant. And it just helps keep the color and the integrity of it too. So for both of those reasons, you gotta pick in advance. That's on our sheet. We've got lots of different colors to pick from. So when you do have a workshop with us or book a workshop with us, we give you basically a link that will have this video, our order form, all of our color options, and it's all visual so you can see as you're picking. So first thing you do is start with your wood. Instructor's gonna have you sit down. You're going to grab a little piece of sandpaper that we're gonna show up with. And you're gonna just give it a light sand. So that varnish or that protectant or whatever, we call it sealant, that we put on there, which is basically just a weather sealant, can be a little bit gritty. So what we'll normally suggest is just give it a nice light sand, or heavy. If you decide you want more of the grain showing, if you have a dark black stain and you want that wood grain showing through, give it a good heavy sand. You're going to sand it potentially at the end of your workshop anyway, so don't worry about that. Normally I would have a cloth here, which, I don't. So that's that, okay? And then you're going to kind of finish that off. You'll have a cloth, you'll wipe it off. It'll have a nice smooth texture. We use a very fine grit sandpaper. And then you'll come to your stencil. Now I'm hoping this is gonna work because I want you to see how difficult it is to see what our stencil says when it shows up like this. It's our biggest issue. A lot of people have problems with it and can't see it. So we have a trick to that. Your instructor, if hopefully, will have a little piece of chalk. And what that piece of chalk does is if you just kind of run it over your stencil, and just, you don't have to trace the whole thing, but you just get the idea to how to do this quickly while I'm trying to show you. This is a laundry sign that I have for custom orders, so I'm multitasking. So this is just white chalk. If we use the white stencil vinyl that a couple of new companies I've never even heard of before just sent us, they're white, so we'll use a different color. But anyway, you'll see now that you'll be able to see a lot better, and this is going to help. Now, this is where we're going to kind of draw attention to it. There are a lot of companies that do the workshops. Everybody does something different. All power to everybody. I think everybody should do what works best for them. In a trial and error process, we have learned that this works a lot better for us. We are not going to weed out our stencil first. We're going to put the stencil down first. Now, if you have one of our signs with a frame on it, you're going to notice that it's a little bit harder to put it down. People get worried that you can't. It's not a problem. You're just going to cut it to size. There's a grid on the back of it. It will come and it'll fit on the inside of your board with the frame. This one doesn't have a frame on it. And so what we're going to do is just cut down the extra on the top. There's a grid on the back. You'll just follow the grid on the back. Try and keep it as straight as you can. You're going to see why in a second. It helps you align it when you go to put it down. So you're just going to give this a nice quick cut down the line there. The more accurate you are, the straighter when you're trying to straighten it out. I am unfortunately one of those people who like to eyeball it no matter what. So that's it. So now you can see that my sign is going to fit. If you want, and if you're worried about it, you can absolutely cut the extra off while you're doing it like this, and it'll help you kind of see. You just put a little crease in it there to see where you want it to line up with your board. And then you're cut and all ready to go. Okay, you'll have scissors at your table. Now this is another thing that's going to change, but for the time being, we are using contact paper as our transfer paper. You don't need to cover the whole thing. Everybody always panics because there's a spot that's open, or you're gonna see this piece is not actually gonna cover my whole sign. You don't need it to. It's just a stabilizer, so when you take this off, all your little pieces stay intact. There's a garbage can there, I'm not just throwing it on the ground. When you get this, everybody panics and they're all worried that it's straight, and typically we would get you to detackify. I know it's not a word, I use it anyway. It's just too sticky. People fuss with it. You can learn how to do that at our workshop, so don't worry about that. Just for the sake of showing you, I'm going to just show you that this is not covering my whole sign. I'm not the least bit worried about it, okay? It's just a stabilizer. So then you're going to flip it over with your stencil. You're just going to grab the corner, and you're going to see how beautifully the back of this is going to come off like nothing. Nothing's left behind, as I said that there is. So just roll it back. Actually, we don't even need those pieces, so we could take them out with us. But just stick it back onto your contact paper. Sometimes the little ones like that can be a little bit fussy. And then it's off. If you weed it first, so if you are one of those people who weed it first, that step is a little bit trickier because you're going to take out all of your stencil pieces before you put it on your board. We don't, as I said, everybody's different, just works best for us. So I now know that I cut this to size, and it doesn't stick, guys, until you put pressure on it. So you've got lots of time to kind of move it around, decide where you want it to be. I know that I've got a fairly straight line on the top and the bottom. So that is literally all it takes. Now, next step that's a little bit different than some of the other places, we do not squeegee our signs. We don't rub them down. So if you've ever been, I don't know, in a wood shop or worked with wood, it'll splinter. The more pressure that you put on this vinyl, especially because it's meant to stick to things, it's meant to be, airtight so you don't have those bleeds, the more it's likely to splinter your wood underneath. So we don't rub it down. We find we don't need to. And you'll see that the contact paper that we put on top there just comes off nice and flat. You can pull straight up, but this is just a trick that we use because it works for us. And you'll pull it back. So part of the reason why we also don't cover our whole signs anymore, or we'll just use a strip to stabilize it where there's some really fine detail on it, is that I hate how wasteful this is. We can't reuse this. At a workshop, ideally, if we could get two people kind of working side by side and sharing their contact paper, it would make me feel a lot better about it, because there's really not much. I'll reuse it because we're in my workshop and I can reuse it later. But at one of these events, there's just no way to do it. So, and there's no way for an instructor to travel with it. So it bothered me a little bit, but we're working on it. I think that may be on its way out too. So I'm super excited about that. Okay. So you can see I'm stuck. It's perfectly stuck on there. It's not going anywhere. So this is what we have. So from here, you're going to weed your sign. And I kind of alluded to what that was ahead of time. We travel currently with these little pickers. Love them. However, ordered a shipment in November of them and they apparently came dull. They're not sharp. That doesn't work for this. You need them to be sharp. So I kind of made up my own little tool. This is a mechanical pencil. I don't know, they have about 6 of them for $247. I don't know. And we took the lead out and I actually put a sewing needle in the tip of it and it works really well as a weeding tool. So what do I mean by a weeding tool? Well, you're basically going to take out everything that you don't need out of your sign in the sense of the parts that you're going to paint. So the writing, any kind of finite detail. I'm going to lift this up so you can see it in a second and just see how easily this thing weeds when you put it on the board already. So that's just the why in the 2 seconds that we did it there. So hopefully you can just see. So you're just going to take all this out. So the other reason why I'm a fan of this is that when we did it before, or there was another company that did it before and we did it on the paper, the biggest frustration with everybody was that these little insides would shift. I'm going to do some of the finer writing on the bottom here. And you can never quite get them to look the way that they want it. So on here, it's already stuck to the wood. It makes a nicer seal. As I said, I'm super supportive of anybody and any company that wants to do something differently. This is just, I've been making signs, I can't even tell you how long. Not professionally, but for gifts or for whatever, for, you know, on a Cricut before, you know, for a long, long time. Much to the bane of the people who live with me, from my parents when I was growing up to my husband to my children. I've been a crafter for a very long time. So this is just the process that's always worked for me. And as you can see, I'm blowing through this so quickly because all of my centers are staying in place. Hopefully you guys can see that. But even as I lift, and I'm going in at an angle. So the one risk to this is that you can damage your wood because these are pretty sharp. But the payoff to me is that it stays in place. So that's what we do. Now, our next biggest question that we get more than anything is, I want to pick my paint colors. I want navy blue and pink, and I want like this. You only have to pick your background color. So just your size, your color, and if you want to have a frame on it ahead of time. Your colors that you paint with, you can choose when the instructor shows up. We do rotate out some of our colors seasonally. We're just coming out of holidays, which means we had 4 red, 4 green, you know, a number of metallics and that. We don't need them anymore. So we do our own paint. Biggest question. We have had 2 chalk paint people talk to us about carrying and using only their paint. As of right now, we don't have a public retail place. We're just a mobile workshop. So for me, there was no real benefit to carrying their paint and I needed to be in love with it, which I wasn't. And I like the control of choosing my own color and choosing my own consistency. So this is a latex chalk mix paint that we make, or that we mix. As you can see, it's super thick, but it is the best for this. It allows for a ton of different color variances. It also lets us have a little bit of forgiveness on the back end if there's any mistakes. We've got some time before it cures to fix what we need to fix. So as you can see, both of these tools work beautifully. I picked them out like nothing. They come out. Guys, one little tip I'm going to give you, the more complicated and the more writing you have on a sign, the longer it's going to take you to do. So I'm going to finish weeding this later, but I am going to paint a little bit of it to start so that you can see how easy our painting process is. So when you get to your workshop, one thing I hope you hear a whole bunch from your instructor is going to be less is more. You do not want to have an excess amount of paint ever on your brush, on your project. That, if you've seen any of the videos, or if you've tried to do them, or you've seen any, actually, I was at HomeSense just before Christmas. I was looking at some of the signs, and some of them are sloppy. Like some of them are misprinted or not aligned, or anyway. So to avoid all those things, it's actually your paint that's going to prevent or allow for really crisp, clean lines, which I will show you here. So just kind of waited. You can see how quickly it goes. It doesn't take long. Nothing shifted, nothing moved. It's all in place. Beautiful. So you're going to get one of our little foam brushes. We find these work best. We do have now the little makeup sponges, which people like to use, but our biggest complaint was that people would get it all over their fingers. So you got a little bit of variation when it comes to that. The other reason why I really like this is because it dries so quickly, which is a good thing. So you're just going to dab your paint onto your stencil. I use this as like sort of a little palette ahead of time just to kind of get the excess off my brush. You can see it's pretty thick. It's not runny. It's not running all over the place, and it's excellent coverage. This is probably enough paint for me to do all 4 of the signs that we have here. So we will probably be a little bit skimpy when you first come up to get your paint. Don't panic. It isn't because we don't think you're responsible. It's just because we know you don't need very much. And it also encourages you to be really, like, I'm hardly even putting any paint on here. And I'll show you, the coverage is unbelievable. Now, sometimes with our darker paints, we have a really dark navy blue, our number 4. It will take 1 or 2 coats because the first coat comes out almost looking purple, and it just needs a touch up. It doesn't need a full coat of paint again. So I think I've dabbed over there, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, and I've got almost half of this sign done. So you don't need a lot. So this is basically what's going to happen. I don't have enough on my paintbrush to be pooling. It's not, if I touch it down, it almost looks like a dry brush when I touch it down. Really, really light on your paint. And this is one of our laundry signs that we have on our templates that I have a customer who has redone her laundry room apparently around this particular sign, which she made and gave away and wants one for her own. So this is yours, Kara. This is exactly how much it doesn't take long. You can choose as many colors as you want. We have rainbow pattern. You can do whatever you want to be creative with this as you want to. So there's no trick to that. So when you're doing your second coat, you're going to go back before it dries. If I was going to do a second coat or a touch up now, I would do it right now without even waiting. The paint sort of covers enough that you can go back pretty quickly and touch up right away. So the thicker the paint though, guys, the more likely it is to bleed. So you're going to see as I peel this for you that it's so light and it won't matter. It's going to come off and peel beautifully. So I'm just going to show you, once you get the whole thing painted, don't paint half like I just did. You're going to peel it back right off. No splintering, no issue, just like that. Okay, and you'll see how beautiful and clean and crisp those lines are. I'm just going to cut off some of the excess here because I'm not actually done the sign yet. So I'll stop once I get to the lettering. And this is where people peel it off. This is, to me, the most satisfying part of this, but there are some people who get very worried about this, which is so cute. Sometimes I think people forget that this is supposed to be fun, and we promise you, if you follow our directions, this video is going to help in advance. You're going to feel like you go in there knowing more than everybody else that's in there, which I always like to do. If I ever have a chance to, if I'm ever going to a workshop or if I'm going, I like to kind of do my research ahead of time so I know what's going on, but that's just how my brain works. So this is what I just did. You can see how beautiful. There's not a bleed. There's not any issue with that at all. So then once you get to this, point, you'll peel the whole thing off and you'll take a look. If there are any, mistakes or bleeds, we can work with you. It happens, but I promise you, 99% of the time, it's because it's too much paint. So the best advice going into one of these workshops that I can give you is just be patient. Don't worry about it. You're not gonna, the weeding part is the big thing. When you weed it out, you wanna make sure you just go in an angle and this stuff will just peel off. You don't have to dig on it. It just pulls off beautifully, okay? So all of that. I know there are people who use the Cricut and do this for their own thing. This is my workshop philosophy. This is if we're doing it. I do have a little bit of a different process if I'm doing it myself for a customer, but as a group, this works best. And then what I do want to bring up, which I meant to bring up before, was these little centers. Everybody panics and thinks that it bleeds and then it's not done. It's just the centers of your letters that you left. Now the one thing about it being a little bit wet when you take these out is that you'd want to make sure that you're not going to smudge the paint at this point. But all those little centers come out so quickly. There you go. And so easily that nothing to worry about. So that's pretty much it. That's it beginning to end. You've got a couple of different options at the end of your workshop on how you want to finish it. You can leave it nice and clean and crisp like this. We've got our vintage finish that has that sort of sanded look. We'll talk to you all about that workshop. But guys, remember, if you're having a workshop or going to a workshop, it's fun. Relax, have a good time, don't worry about it. I have incredible instructors and staff, and we all know what we're talking about, so we can help you out. So thanks, and again, I'm Shannon. This is Painted Workshops. The other thing I'll just mention at the end of this is that we are going to be doing new video series, which is our Creating Chaos series, which I'm incredibly excited about because we get so many questions about different things. We have new products coming out all the time. So we have this new one that's going to be available on our page, which is our little banners. So this is going to have the burlap and then words like love and things like that for the banister. So that's going up in a triangle banner shape, and we're going to do hearts for Valentine's Day just because we're cute. For our signs, same process. It's one of the things we're most proud about for our business versus some of the other ones is that you can bring a friend and go to these workshops and you guys can make two completely different projects. Nobody has to make the same thing. You can have your friends over, they get to pick their budget, they get to pick their price. You're not obligated to make them spend $120 on a project when they only want a budget $40. So we're really excited to show you our banners and some of our other new projects that are coming that you can make at the workshops. As usual, we always have our signs and our tabletops and our toilet paper holders and so much fun things. So thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Hopefully we'll see you at a workshop. Thanks very much.